Is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, this never happened before. They always extend. An extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
It's time for Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrat Congress to stop playing games with the people's lives and to pass a clean funding bill that they've done 30 times before, and to reopen government immediately. The radical left Democrats are causing millions of Americans who depend on food stamps to go without benefits. They're forcing federal workers to go without paychecks, and they're stranding thousands of travelers at the airports. And you understand it, and they understand it. All because they want to return to the failed Biden policies that... Yet as we speak, the Democrats in Congress are trying to put all of this progress at risk and drag us back to the Biden policies of soaring prices, crushing energy costs, massive spending, open borders. Let the world come into our country from prisons and from mental institutions. Let them pour in. And rampant inflation. That's what Biden gave us, all of those things, with the reckless Democrat shutdown. Virtually every Democrat in Congress has voted to hold the American people hostage in an effort to extort hundreds of billions of dollars in new spending. They're demanding free health care for illegal aliens that just came into our country from prisons and from mental institutions, and drug dealers and drug addicts, and they want to give $1.5 trillion in giveaways that would turbocharge rapid inflation again, as they did the first time. You remember that just a couple of years ago, 4 disastrous years we just had. They were the worst years.
Now, let's talk about the shutdown, the government shutdown. The US government shutdown is set to become the longest one ever, dragging on for 36 days. Democrats have voted 14 times against a bill that would reopen the government, and Caroline Levitt has blasted the Democrats over this.
The administration is encouraging Democrats to reopen the federal government so this chaos and disruption to our air traffic control system in the United States of America stops. It is ridiculous that we have even gotten to this place and that the Democrats have continued to shut down the government with 35 days, our air traffic controllers continuing to work unpaid, every single major airline in our country coming out and begging the Democrats to please reopen the government.
James, yesterday 46% of flight delays, I should say, were due to staffing issues in air traffic control towers. So it seems like this is only getting worse, and it seems as though plenty of Americans really see through the Democrats here, that they are using this as leverage.
Yeah, the polling is showing that the Democrats aren't doing well out of this issue. You know, traditionally Democrats have shut down the government and they've used it as a way to say, oh, look at these terrible Republicans. This time they've done it, and the polls actually are showing it's worse for the Democrats than it is for the Republicans. That's really interesting because it shows that their messaging just simply isn't landing. And people understand, you know, that in America, just people in Australia need to understand too, it's not 50%, it's 60% to get a budget resolution through the Senate. Don't ask me why it is. It's complicated. It's just there. So even though the Republicans have a bare majority in the Senate, they can't pass a spending bill without help of the Democrats. And they're the ones completely are holding this up.
James, let's turn to California's Proposition 50, Gavin Newsom's controversial redistricting attempt, which would temporarily redraw the state's electoral maps in a way that could help Democrats flip 5 congressional seats in the 2026 midterms. Now, Donald Trump has slammed this. He wrote on Truth Social, the unconstitutional redistricting vote in California is a giant scam in that the entire process, in particular, the voting itself, is rigged. All mail-in ballots, where the Republicans in that state are shut out, is under very serious legal and criminal review. Stay tuned. What do you make of what is happening in California and Trump's warning there?
Well, what you got to see is that this is all about Gavin Newsom trying to set himself up as the anti-Trump for the 2028 election. So this is what this is about. So he's picking fights with Trump on absolutely every ground he can, including this whole plan that Trump has to basically redraw congressional districts because, frankly, in a lot of states, you know, they're really, really lopsided. So Democrats not only get too many representatives in Congress, but also that means that, you know, the electoral votes are also misdrawn because if the census numbers are incorrect, then people are getting the wrong seats, you know, in the wrong states. So there's 2 levels to this here. Newsom is, of course, trying to draw this huge distinction with Trump on this. But the fact is that California's districts are already a bit of a scandal. I mean, the percentage of people who vote Republican in that state versus the percentage of their congressional delegation that goes to Washington that's Republican is scandalously lopsided, probably only worse in states like Massachusetts.
Now, you won't believe this, James, and I can't believe that I'm saying this out loud, but Stephen Colbert, he's actually said something funny. Would you believe it? Look at this.
And, you know, the demographics of these shows are interesting, too. It's about a third. It's about a third Republicans, third Democrats, third Independents. You'd think, you know, old, you know, people perceive me as this sort of lefty figure. I think I'm more conservative than people think. I just happen to be talking about a government in extremis.
Yeah.
And so what I'm giving you is my reaction video to the day.
James, he's a conservative, apparently.
Well, look, I'm going to give Stephen Colbert a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on this one. Now, I'm not a huge Colbert fan. But I have sort of tracked his career over the years. He's an interesting character. He really doesn't like Trump, and, you know, let's put that to one side. But he's also one of the more actually thoughtful, if you can believe it, late night hosts out there. He's got a long Catholic background. He's more intellectually rigorous. And in the early days of Colbert, you know, he was actually a lot less political and a lot less left wing. Now, I mean,
they were the early days, James.
They were the early days, but I'm just saying that, you know, you have to take into account, you know, the whole body of somebody's work. Yeah, sure, he may have the TDS now, but I think also he comes to his positions, I'll just say, he comes to his positions probably a bit more honestly than a lot of people who are just, you know, complete raving nutters on the topic. So I will speak up a little bit.
James, I am going to completely disagree with you. I'm going to put him in the category as a complete nutter.